Hi there, Oregon AI Conference. My name is Sam Stark. I am the founder and chief strategist of Phyusion. We're based here in Brooklyn, New York. I wish I could be there with you today, but unfortunately had a conflict. So Phyusion focuses in on innovation within communications. And you guessed it, we're doing a ton right now within generative AI adoption, looking at both strategy and creative tools and how companies, both big and small, can integrate it into their workflows, train their people, and get the most out of this amazing technology. So I know we don't have a ton of time together today, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get started. All right, so starting with our objectives for today, we're going to start by looking at a snapshot of all the various different generative AI tools that are out there today. And if you are feeling overwhelmed, that is completely natural. That's because there's a flood coming into the market. And then from there, we're going to talk a little bit about, okay, how is the current industry using it? And as a reminder, I'm really leaning into the marketing and communications front. Then we're going to show a little bit of the current capabilities. I'm going to give you some various different tips on how you can improve it by things such as prompt engineering and the fun part, which is real world case studies and how it can all come together. So starting with the foundation, and I'm going to call this a startup war. So there are just so many different amazing companies coming into the market. There's a famous website within the AI industry, which is called futuretools.com. And the founder of futuretools.com, which what they do is they review everything that's coming, various different categories, said that he has seen around 100 different startups submitting their tools every single day. So that gives you a sense. And so when we look, though, at the adoption of the tools themselves, it's important to remember that this is literally the fastest technology adoption in history. So there is a reason that we're seeing this rush because of the power of these various different tools, but they go into a lot of different areas across our culture. So it would be normal if you wouldn't recognize a lot of the tools that are here. So Perplexity, one of my favorites, that's one that really leans into research. You have Udio, which is a music generator, Ideogram, a really great image generator. And then a lot of this stuff also focuses in on things like just day-to-day chatting, as well as video editing. But then again, when we look at the marketing side of things, so currently, how are communicators leveraging these generative AI tools within their workflows? So really importantly, strategic planning, ideation, and campaign execution. You really need to know that these tools can be a partner for you, brainstorming back and forth, pushing your creativity. Then, of course, streamlining content creation for articles, blogs, and social. You can help really come up with some interesting ideas and do first drafts for you. But at the end of the day, it's your idea and your content that's going to make it great. Tailoring content for different audience segments. One of the most interesting uses that I've seen for this from an internal communications perspective, as I've seen companies who are creating one master email, let's say, that would normally go out to the entire company, but instead they're taking that one master email and they're then having the AI rewrite that email for their employee audience segment. So if you have a frontline worker versus somebody that works in your corporate office, what those two people care about are going to be very different. And so you know what? If you can do it, you want those different messages to appeal to them and be different as well. Then there's the creation of internal training videos and announcements, and then everything that goes along with great branding, logos, blog and imagery, as well as like the formation of more strategic POVs. So we are in a moment right now when everyone's able to make pretty good content because of these tools, and we're truly having the internet flooded with this content. So what does that mean? That means that we're all going to adjust. Your content has to become much better. And in order for your content to become much better, you have to learn these tools and you have to put the human creativity at the forefront of that. And we're going to talk about some ways to do that. So top tools by category, content creation and strategy, as I mentioned. So generating text, generating an outline for you, generating scripts. Maybe you have a town hall, or maybe it's a script for an ads campaign. These are the ones that are going to really focus in on helping you refine your strategy and your writing, which is always the beginning of the process. Research and analysis. These tools really help you gather information, generate some insights that maybe could be used for your campaign, just streamlining your research workflows. As I mentioned, Perplexity is one of my favorites in this. Highly recommend you check it out if you haven't before. What's unique about Perplexity is that you have the sources for your queries right there that you can then go ahead and read a little bit deeper on an article. And it has this amazing ability to ask additional questions so you can really go deep quickly. Image generation and design. These are really about creating visuals, both like logo visuals, but realistic looking photography, like visual interest. The communications needs to have this level of visuals right now to bring people in. And then finally, audio and video production. So looking again at those different types of workflows, here are some of my favorite tools. There's so many different ones. So there are really good ones that are not on this list, and this list is constantly changing every single week. This week, I added DeepSeek, which I'm sure a lot of folks have heard about everything going on with DeepSeek. So in that strategy and written content bucket, you have the Claude, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Gemini, things like Copilot. Copilot, I love Microsoft Copilot because for me, it's all about efficiency. Copilot is within Microsoft 365, so you can write your emails, you can create a PowerPoint, it can write Excel formulas for you. It's amazing. And then you also have some specialized tools for writers in here and just for marketing in general, like Jasper and Copy. Then moving into design and imagery. I am a huge fan of Midjourney. Flux does an amazing job with people. This is just a list right here, but a lot of these different tools are really great at different aspects. So I'm going to give you an example. Ideogram does a really nice job with text, whereas DALL-E, in my experience, has not been able to really nail the text side of things. And then finally, within audio and video, we're going to be showing a few of these. We're going to show Sora, which is OpenAI's video generator. There was a lot of buzz about this. And then RunwayML and Kling are a few others. And then we're going to go into some digital avatars. So you'll get to see HeyGen, Synthesia, and some others that are in this area. So level set. I want to show people how quickly this technology is changing and that you don't have to be an expert to be able to create great content with them. So I just went to Midjourney today and I pulled these 3 images. So these are images that regular people created. So every day this happens on Midjourney, it also happens on Ideogram, and it happens on the video generators as well, like Sora. You're going to see a list or just like a bunch of different creations from everyday people. And so when you think about, hey, where are the image generators now? You know what? They're no longer giving people a hand with 8 different fingers on it, for the most part. The good ones are not. They're not giving you people whose face is just way too perfect. There's wrinkles, there's all those things that make us human. So you're getting much closer in your first generation of this type of content to be something that you can actually use. And there's really interesting ways now that you can customize and personalize these, which I'm going to go into. And so the same thing goes with video generation. Like video generation gets better and better. And so to show you where we are now, I went onto Sora. And again, I just grabbed some random person's creation that's trending right now that people like. And let me show you that. So looks like a real person, breathing. You can kind of see just it creates a very specific artistic vibe. And then finally, in terms of looking at where we are with the technology and how it's being used, there have been several different companies out there who have been using generative AI in their commercials up to this point. Toys R Us was the one that had the first one that really made a big splash. But then this holiday season, we also had Coca-Cola, who has been a really early adopter with generative AI in general, doing some creative stuff with holiday cards, etc. This, however, was their full campaign. So their entire campaign for this last holiday was created using generative AI, and they brought in a few different partners to do that. But when you think about, okay, what is this technology capable of now? I thought that this would be a really great example. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. And of course, when you're using a technology like that, the first thing is like, wow, think of the efficiency. But think beyond the efficiency. You can also think of creative possibilities that would have been really difficult to do. So now going into prompt engineering. I mention this just because you can think about prompt engineering like you think about data science. You know, when you're working with LLMs, and this also includes some of the image generators and video generators, it's a bit of garbage in, garbage out. You need to understand what it is that you're looking for and give as much context and inspiration to these various different models. And what you get out of it is then going to be so much better. And so I'm going to hit on a few of these. So when you're looking at LLMs, and I'm talking about your ChatGPTs, you need to be super specific about what you want. You need to define within the prompt that you put into it your objective. You want to give it key messages. You want to give it your target audience. And then something really powerful is called a persona. When you give it a persona, you're telling it to behave like a certain person. And so frequently you could say something like, you are a TV ad writer, or you are a lawyer. When you do that, then the LLM understands, okay, this is the information that is going to be most important to them, and your output is going to be better. Same thing goes for providing context. And so that means upload background information on your company, upload examples of content that you think are really great that define your voice. That type of additional context is going to also wildly improve the output that you get. If you have an article that you've written in the past and you're like, this is the best article that I've ever written, and you have a concept for something else that you want to write with a core outline, you could take that outline, put it into the LLM, and then give the example of the other article from the past. And what you get is that output is going to be so much better, especially when you're using a tool like Claude, which has a tendency to really replicate voice at a higher level than some of the others. You want to be concise and specific. You need to know what you want when you're talking about like some of the more LLMs. You can brainstorm with it as well, but if you're looking for a strategy or a document or something that's more well thought out, you need to understand your needs before you go in there. And then think like an expert. So this goes across all of them, but when you're looking at things like imagery or videos, when you say think like an expert, you want to do a prompt that understands what's the lighting look like? What type of photo lens am I using? What is the feeling that I'm trying to pull out of it? So that's what you mean when you say think like an expert. And then there are still downsides, of course, to these hallucinations. Sometimes these LLMs make up information. Like that is just the truth. You've got to vet it. You also have to incorporate into your prompt inclusivity to avoid bias. You need to say, I want these messages that I'm creating to be appealing to a diverse audience, or in the boardroom photography that I have, I want you to have a diverse set of people within there, and then even describe what that diverse set of people look like to give it that extra push. And so now the fun part. We're going to jump into a specific case study. It was inspired by Coca-Cola. So my company actually created their own holiday video using full generative AI tools. Also wanted to show that you don't have to be Coca-Cola to be able to actually create content at this point that is usable with these tools. So any good creative process, you need to start with your strategy and you need to start with your creative planning. So for what we're going to do today, I'm going to use a Claude Pro project. So think of a Claude Pro project as an AI-assisted working space, but one that has memory. So you're going to upload a bunch of background information within that working space that the AI is going to be able to reference. So this is going to have things like your brand guidelines. And then for something such as this, it's an important moment for a company. You want to have that advanced prompt. So I'm giving you a list here of what's going to go into the prompt that I'm going to show you. Project overview and backgrounds, want a holiday video, here are my goals. I want to thank my clients and my partners for making the first year of my business amazing. I'm going to give them information on my target audience. I'm going to give a few messages. I'm going to talk about my unique value proposition, deliverables, timeline, budgets, key metrics. All that kind of stuff really needs to go into the prompt. If you need to work, your creativity needs to be within a framework that works for your business, like any project. And so this is the Claude project. So you see over here on the right, that is the project knowledge. So that's all that background that I told you about that's here all the time. I call this my Phyusion CMO because this is the central place that I go to do my marketing planning and strategy. It's got everything from my target audience personas, my voice guidelines, which you can create your own voice guidelines. And then I give it some very specific instructions on how I want it to communicate with me. And right now, one reason it's actually going slow is because I've told this working space to slow down and think about things step by step. And when you do that, it has a tendency to give you a better outcome. Again, going back to some of these more advanced prompting techniques that I talked about earlier. So what we're seeing right now are a few different concepts for a holiday video. I wanted to see 3 to 5 concepts. I wanted them to come back to the core purpose of my company. And so it's going through and just taking it, and then it's evaluating which one do you recommend for me. And core to my brand is authenticity. And so it's recommending the most authentic concept here, which it's calling windows of connections. And it's giving the core of how long it needs to be. Nobody wants a 3-minute holiday video. It needs to be like 35 seconds or so. And so this is where it goes back. Again, think of AI as your creative partner. You're going to brainstorm back and forth. You know, some of this concept is going to be like, oh, that's amazing. But then there's also going to be things within the concept that don't make sense for your brand or sort of personal things. Maybe it's some words that you don't like. I frequently will write something and say, I just don't like that word, don't use it. And so you're going to just spend time going back and forth and refining it. And so right now we are refining that concept. We're going through, here's the output formats, like here's quality control checklist, here's the type of music that we should create, all these various different things. And so I also like to do something at the end of whenever I'm creating various different contents, is I make sure that in that session, I'm grabbing whatever other prompts I want, because you can use generative AI to make other generative AI. So in this case, I want to have like a very cool holiday jazz song in the background of my holiday video, because my brand is really technology and Art Deco. I wanted to merge the two to make something warm. And so it's literally writing the prompts for me to then put into a music generator. And then finally, really critical, you can ask a question open-ended at the end of any strategy session, like, what should I do to make this more successful? And so that's what I asked. And it's given me all these things that I should be thinking about. How am I measuring this? Here's my timeline. How am I going to promote this? So another really great area for generative AI to be your partner is to push you creatively into new areas and just what are you not thinking about, right? So now we're going to move into actually creating the imagery. Once we had our concept, when you're doing video specifically, you want to start with images because you can then animate those images. And so here is a few that I created for this project, specifically based upon the concept that we just went through. I use this both in Midjourney as well as Canva. And the way that you can do something similar to keep your images on brand is there's a few different ways. So if you're in a tool like Midjourney, Kriya would be another example of that. The tools have recently rolled out the ability to set up mood boards or set up different styles. So if you're at an agency and you're working on various different clients, you could have different mood boards and you could have different styles that you can then reference and have the AI reference to generate an image for you. That's one way of doing it, literally within the tool. Another really simple way of doing it within the tool is to attach an example. Just like we can attach an example to write an article, you can attach an image example so that it will then try to generate something that has that same look and feel as that image. And then lastly, something that I personally do is within ChatGPT, I have created a customized GPT to actually write prompts for me so that I can easily reuse them within image generators. I call it my creative director. And when you create a customized GPT, you can create customized instructions within your GPT. So in it, I'm giving it objectives like I need you to follow my brand guidelines. But then I've uploaded, again, a bunch of background information, like my color palette, and I've given it examples. So I have a Substack, which is all about communications and generative AI. Every time I write a Substack, what I'll do is take my Substack, upload it to my Fusion Creative Director and say, give me some concepts for imagery to go along the subject of this Substack. And then I will go back and forth with it, and then it will write the prompts for me to then generate those images. I cannot tell you how much time that has saved me. It used to be a huge lift for me to try to figure out the images that I wanted to go around with my content. And so going back to this advanced prompting, this is the prompt that I used to create this image here. An exquisite Art Deco illustration with a red-headed female at the center, looking straight ahead with a smile. A deep maroon background exudes elegance and depth, while the warm taupe and light brush tones add a sense of warmth and sophistication. I won't read the whole thing. At the end there, it says aspect ratio 16:9. So you can see there, this prompt was written by that GPT. So it gives you a sense of it used all of my various different colors. It got my look and feel. It just really can streamline it for you. And so once you've generated a good starting point, there's also the ability to do some much more sophisticated editing as well. And so you can now, within Midjourney and some of these other tools, just edit directly there. You used to have to export your image and then go into something like a Photoshop. So if you look at the top there in the middle, the woman's hair is just kind of brushed out. That's a little eraser tool. You would just erase something and then type a prompt in there, like, give me different hairstyles. So at the bottom, then you see that was my output. This was all done within Midjourney, gave me a few different hairstyles for my image. Now, this is not perfect yet. So you might still need to upscale your image, meaning give it a better quality, and then import it into Photoshop to make some changes when you need sophisticated design. But more and more you're able to do within these tools that like a higher level of editing. So now that we have those images, we're going to start animating them for our video. So that background image that you see here is a bunch of different Art Deco. I wanted to show some holiday bulbs, holiday video, and then the words right there, I actually inputted that in Canva. So Canva Pro has some really amazing AI tools. If you want to do higher level design, but you are not trained as a designer, you don't know how to use Adobe, I recommend Canva. And so for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to take two different images and we're going to go and put them into RunwayML because I want to transition one scene into another scene. So I actually didn't even need to use a prompt or anything for this. But for my opening scene, I wanted to go from Happy Holidays to a woman so that she could start speaking. And this took literally, less than a minute. So then looking at some other snippets, because you're really thinking about when you're creating videos, what are the little snippets? So if I'm creating a holiday video, I want to think about, okay, a tree in the woods, or you can grab another image, but pulling together the little pieces so that they can all be spliced together in an effective way. And so for this one, this is the image that I showed you a few back, which is an image that is specifically a tree in the woods, that it was meant to be photorealistic in style, that we created in Midjourney. And now again, I'm just asking it to animate it. I put two different images in here and gave it a slight prompt, which was pull out slowly on the camera. Another one, if you have an image that you think is amazing, so that we created an image and then we animated that image. But now if you have an image or you found an image that you find is that you have the rights to use, which is very important, and you want to animate that, you can do the same type of thing. Just take any photograph and put it into one of these tools to have it animate. I use RunwayML for this. So if you look at this image, I took this off of Google and it's actually kind of grainy. Like I liked the scene, I like the look and feel, I love the fire in the background, but it's not really crisp. But the interesting thing is, let me show you what the video generator does to the crispness of this image. It creates it on its own. Again, you can see how realistic that looks. Everybody's not perfect. We're slowly going in. Now we're starting to move into generating the holiday song. This was via Suno. We talked about this earlier, showed you I wanted to do different types of jazz arrangements. I wanted it to bring that feeling of Art Deco. And so that is the prompt written by Claude right there. Very, very simple for this one. A classic jazz arrangement with Art Deco elegance and a subtle holiday warmth, piano led, gentle strings, soft percussion. It builds gradually and resolves with sophistication. So I'm going to go ahead and play that for you. And so that's actually a very simple song, but that was on purpose. These music generators can be far more sophisticated than that. I just wanted something that was going to be light, underground, because there was going to be a lot of speaking over top of it and some imagery. But you can literally take anything and put it into Suno and put it into Udio and now create very sophisticated different music in different styles. Something that I did recently that I thought was super fun is that I took some meeting notes from a board that I have, and it was a very friendly conversation, nothing to be worried about in terms of nothing proprietary. And I put that into Suno, and it did a really interesting jazzy jazz vocal song about what we talked about within the meeting, and everyone just got a really big kick out of it. But you can actually also edit and download the music out of Suno, and then Reels, similar to how you would do with Adobe, you can use real real sort of music equipment to edit it and turn it into something that you might need for a commercial or some other type of marketing use. So all of these various different types of tools are starting to overlap, and you can use AI as the starting point and then refine using some of these more classic tools where it makes sense. And so another thing that you can do, again, with these images is to animate them. And so for the holiday card, I got to a place where I decided that it would make sense to make this character look a bit like me. Some of those first generations that I created were great and the animation was really good, but then when I actually showed them to some members of the team, they're like, wait, is that supposed to be you? Is that not you? And so then I played around with Midjourney to try to get an image that more accurately reflected me. And then the next step is to animate that image to make it talk. And so the way that you can do that, and this is also via Runway, but this is something, a capability that you can do in a few different platforms, is you record a video of yourself. Essentially, you record yourself saying the script, and then you upload that into Runway, put an image there, and then it will animate it for you. So this could actually be something different. Instead of this being something that's so obviously animation, this could be something that's much more photorealistic. This could be a dog, this could be a cat. You can see the creative possibilities there. It could go in a lot of different directions. And I'm not going to show you that right now just because it's in the final video. And so here we're going to bring it all together. And this is actually the holiday video that I sent to clients, just meant to be something light and friendly and show what the generative AI tools are capable of. So taking those various little snippets that we created and the images that we created, you would just upload it into Kapwing. And it's a very simple process of dragging and dropping into the video editor in order to create something. And so I'm going to go ahead and play that for you now.
Holidays remind us technology's greatest gift is the power to bring people together. Magic happens when human creativity is unlocked by new innovations. To our friends and our partners reimagining what's possible, thank you for the inspiration and for being a part of our story. Wishing you the happiest of holidays in a 2025 filled with bold new adventures and meaningful connections.
And so then for our last demonstration, I did want to hit on where we are with digital avatars. There are quite a few different options for digital avatars. HeyGen is one that's known really, really well. And for the concept of this holiday card, I wanted to show you what it would be like if you had a digital avatar as opposed to an animated character reading a similar type of script. And so for this one, I went to a company which is called Synthesia. And so with Synthesia, you can either create your own digital avatar, you can upload some video, and you can do this across many of the different platforms, or you can choose one of their digital avatars. And so with this process, and when you have an account with them, you do then also have the AP to use it because you're paying for the account. And so for this script, this was also created in Claude. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit play so you can see how close it's getting to really mimicking human behavior and feeling like it's a real person.
The holidays remind us that innovation shines brightest when it brings people together. It's not just about the tools we use or the ideas we spark. It's the human spirit and creativity that transforms possibilities into reality. I'm thankful for the endless inspiration from you, this network. Thank you. Wishing you the happiest of holidays. Here's to making 2025 extraordinary.
And so while that's not perfect, this is the worst that it's ever going to be. And I've seen some other examples of this that get incredibly close. And sometimes when I haven't actually been able to tell the difference, in all honesty. Finally, wanted to share with you a few different resources to dive in and get a little bit deeper in terms of your own learning, and just to give you a sense of how I was able to get to the level that I'm at, which is honestly, some of it is through courses. You know, I've done MIT courses, but I've also, of course, done work within the industry in different ways. But because there are so many cool tools out here and there is this startup race, so many of them are providing a lot of different resources so you can educate yourself. So like if you want to learn Midjourney or you want to learn Canva is a great example. If you go to the actual tools website, then on that website, there are going to be videos that you can watch to show you how to use various different features. And I found that over and over. Same thing with Sora, the video generator, and Runway. There are different videos that explain the various different aspects of the tools. And I find that is super helpful. Some other things that you can do. So Anthropic has a prompt library and a prompt improver. So you can go, if you're just starting to learn prompts, to the prompt library, find different categories and start to use them, and then start to change them for yourself. I personally have a prompt library that I keep on my desktop for things that I'm using over and over. So I have a starting point and I'm not starting over every time. You just have a template for, I write a lot of blogs and things like that. And then you can change it every time of like, okay, these are the points that I want to make in this blog today. And here's some of the background information that I want you to reference and that type of thing. And then the prompt improver, there's within Anthropic, they have one within the console, but there's similar type of GPTs actually within ChatGPT where you can go and put in your prompt and ask it to make it better, and it'll give you some various different suggestions to make it more advanced prompting. OpenAI has prompt engineering best practices. You just go to their website and it gives you all those fundamentals, which I very lightly talked about earlier, or even if you ask, ChatGPT, it's going to give you the same type of thing. If you have access to LinkedIn Learning, I can't stress enough how amazing it is for really learning so many different aspects of generative AI, from something as simple as, like the basics on prompting to actually learning how to train a model. So highly recommend, if you have access to it, that you take advantage of it. Something that I've done for my clients is pull together what I'm calling learning paths, which take you from the beginning of the foundations of generative AI into prompting specifically for your industry. Like there is prompting for public relations, there's prompting for marketing, there's so many different things. And then you get into specific tools as well. So teach yourself how to use Midjourney. All that lives on LinkedIn Learning, and it's peer reviewed by others. And then some of these big companies also have YouTube websites or like YouTube's channels. So Anthropic's a good example of that. LinkedIn Learning has a lot with Microsoft because they're the same company, less with Claude. Anthropic's YouTube channel has some good information there on the basics of new stuff that's coming out. And then finally, there are different areas. Like I personally have my own Substack, but I'm noticing Substack has a lot of really great in-depth information on the breakthroughs within generative AI specifically. So just find the influencers and find the people that you are inspired by and that speak your language for your industry. And that's going to be the best way for you to learn. Like I personally watch a lot of YouTubers. So there's one named Matt Wolf, there's a Matt Vid Pro, there's a few others that really help me to keep up with what's happening within the industry. But more importantly, those visual demonstrations. And so, which couldn't be more important for these tools. That was a lot. Again, I really wish that I could be there with you in person for this. Hope you all keep in touch, and thank you so much for the time. That's just, we'll go straight to my LinkedIn, and I'm happy to connect with you all there. Thank you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.